Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a well known expert in the area of public speaking and phobia from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, Mr. Robert Summa. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ash. I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation. I've been looking forward to it for over a week now. So
Thank you.
excited to be here for you and your fan base.
Thank you. Thank you. Robert is the public speaking and a phobia expert. He's the
Mhm.
founder of the public speaking cure. So, Robert, tell me a little bit about your own journey. And when you say public speaking fear can be cured, what does cured practically mean?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, I actually used to be a big sufferer of public speaking phobia.
Hmm.
And I had for over 18 years.
Hmm.
And I've tried so many things out there, like public speaking coaches and beta blockers, Toastmasters, all these tips out there. And I stumbled upon a researcher in Japan where I found out that I actually have a phobia. I never heard that term before, phobia. So fast forward many years later, I've been cured for over 15 years, and I was so interested in helping others with the same condition that I had because I see so many people suffering with it. And after getting certified, becoming a life coach, and now doing this full time for the last 4 years, what I've learned and what I'm now teaching other people is that phobia, phobias can actually be cured.
Hmm.
There's, if you will, there's like a prescription that you follow to reverse the fight or flight response that's happening in our brain, and that is a phobia. So a lot of people call it a fear of public speaking, and that's a misnomer. It's really a phobia, and when you realize that you actually have a phobia, then there actually is an answer to overcoming a phobia.
Well said. You make a strong distinction between curing and managing public
Mm.
speaking fear. What is the fundamental difference at a neurological level?
Yeah. So basically, managing the symptoms is what many of us try to do. We're trying to calm ourselves down when we're having anxiety. We try different methods of calmness, but that's actually feeding into the phobia. So when I say the cure versus managing symptoms, I go at the root cause, which
Mm.
is a phobia, which is a psychological condition, but it
Right.
also has physiological manifestations, the pounding heart,
Mm.
the quivering voice, the brain freeze. So I attack it in a two-pronged approach. We go after the physiological emotions, the manifestations, and the psychological phobia itself, so
Mm.
we can get actually at the root, which is how that's why I can actually say cure. So cure just really means phobia free.
Very interesting. And what would you say is the single most important mindset shift someone with public speaking fear needs to understand today?
Yeah. Most people come to me after trying so many things and they feel broken. They
Mm.
feel like they've tried everything, and when they come and they meet me, they see my website, they are like, this sounds too good to be true.
Mm.
And I don't blame them because they tried so many things and they just feel internally like I'm broken. I can't, I've tried everything out there. But what they don't realize is that they don't have a fear of public speaking. They don't have nerves. They actually have a phobia. So when I get on a phone call with a client and I shift them into understanding that they have a phobia and that a phobia can be cured,
Mm.
that is the biggest mind shift that people need to understand out there. And that's why I'm happy to be on this video and podcast with you, because I want to get the word out that you are not broken. There is a method to get over this, and you're
Mm.
not alone.
Very interesting. Thank you. And tell me, why do so many intelligent, high performing people still experience intense speaking anxiety despite being successful in every other area?
Yeah, it's interesting, Ash, that you asked that question. When I first started this journey, I thought I was going to be helping people at a lower level management, trying to get up to those higher levels by
Mm.
overcoming their fear of public speaking. And that is still true today. But that only makes about 30% of my clients.
Mm.
70% of my clients are already successful. They've been in these positions of vice president or higher, CEOs or executive vice presidents, even authors, even actual speakers, TEDx
Mm,
speakers.
mm,
So I've helped a lot of people. And what I find out is that the higher level you are within a corporation, the more important you become. We also have something that's introduced called imposter syndrome.
mm,
And imposter syndrome basically makes you feel like I reached this great place. I'm very confident in what I do. I'm very knowledgeable. I'm very intelligent,
mm.
right? Successful. But I had this one hurdle, and it's the public speaking phobia. So a
Right.
phobia doesn't go away on its own through confidence, through success. It
Mm,
stays in what's called the amygdala, which is our fear response part of the brain. So
mm.
until we remove the phobia, no matter how high or how confident you are, how successful, you still have this phobia that you have to manage through. And they're managing it all these years.
Very, very interesting. Thank you. Why do people believe they are broken or naturally bad speakers when the issue may actually be neurological?
Yeah, that it goes back to people really not understanding the difference between a fear and a phobia.
Mm,
See, a phobia, as we know, can't, or as I'm discussing with you today, can be cured. Many people don't know that. That's the thing that they don't
correct.
understand that it can be cured. So basically, they come and they just feel broke because they've tried so many things out there. Most people, and this, I did the same thing. I tried everything out there, like public speaking coaches, thinking that's the first answer. That's the first solution to overcoming my fear is a public speaking coaching class, like a Dale Carnegie, or going to my doctor and getting a beta blocker, right? But a beta blocker blocks one of the physiological symptoms like the pounding heart, a little bit of adrenaline, but it doesn't get to the root cause, which is a neurological phobia of public speaking. And
Mm,
once you overcome the neurological part, everything else melts away. No more pounding heart, no more quivering voice. All that just literally disappears on its own because we teach the brain that
mm,
there's no danger there.
mm. Wow. Is public speaking fear actually about speaking, or is it something else entirely?
That's a good question. So the fear and the phobia does have to do with public speaking. It's the fear of being judged.
Mm,
So what happens is once we get up on stage and we have a bad experience, what happens is our fear response part of the brain keeps that in its memory. And
mm,
then next time we go up, we recall that memory and then it gets worse with each time. So it actually manifests and over time it grows into a very powerful phobia. It can even lead into panic attacks. So a lot of my clients come to me, they're actually at the point now where they're actually having panic attacks or they can't sleep or their entire there's also something called dread. That's the anticipatory anxiety. So that's when you know something's coming up. Now
mm,
they're not sleeping days before, they're in their head. So basically, it's a really powerful two-pronged phobia. We have the phobia itself, and that's when you're in the moment, getting on stage or speaking, and all the days leading up to it, that's an anticipatory anxiety. And
mm,
I help people with both because they're both very closely related.
mm. And tell me, what is happening in the brain during a panic response when someone is asked to speak in a high stakes situation?
Yeah, so I'm going to try to keep this really simple,
Yeah.
right? Because there is something that's going on here. So we have our prefrontal cortex, that's our logical brain, and we have something called the amygdala. And this little thing, the size of a pebble in our brain, is in charge of the fight or flight response.
Mm,
So what's happening is our amygdala is there to protect us from a physical danger or threat. It has to be like a mountain lion or a bear, a person attacking us, could even be environmental, like a fire breaking out. And what it does is it spins up and it pumps us up full of adrenaline to either run away from the threat
mm,
or stand our ground and fight it.
mm.
Now, what happens is when you have a phobia, we are getting a neurological response because when you have a phobia is an irrational fear of something.
Yeah.
So by mistake, our amygdala puts it into its database. So instead of having lions and tigers and bears, it has lions and tigers and bears in public speaking
Mm,
in its database. So that's what we have to remove from that part of the brain to get it back where it belongs in our logical brain. And
mm.
I hope that I'm trying to simplify it.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's a little bit in depth, but that's what really I teach in my methods.
Mm, amazing, amazing. Thank you. Uh, Tell me, Robert, can exposure therapy or repeated practice actually make public speaking fear worse for some people?
When you have a phobia, yes. The simple answer is yes. We think
Mm,
that the more times we just get up and practice or just keeping exposing ourselves, that it's going to get better. But actually, when you have a phobia, you're so terrified and you walk with so much anxiety that we have all of these, the quivering voice, the pounding heart, some sweating, and then we
mm,
feel humiliated. or embarrassed afterwards,
Mm,
and then we really self-judge ourselves, which means that the next time it gets
mm,
worse. So exposure does not work when you have the phobia. But on the other hand, exposure works really well once we get rid of the phobia. Because after we get rid of the phobia, then when you go up and you expose yourself to a crowd and you don't have all that anxiety, you have a wonderful moment. You actually get endorphins,
mm.
right? So you actually get an endorphin release, a feel good release, and then you start enjoying public speaking. But we have to get rid of the phobia first so that you can enjoy speaking. And that's when exposure is your best bet to get better at public speaking. But
Mm,
while you have the phobia, it's actually just worsening it every single time.
mm. And would you have an example of someone you worked with, without any names, of course, on who was a very, very nervous speaker, and how you managed to get them out of this phobia?
Yeah, so basically this is what I do day to day.
Yeah.
So when people come to me, they come from either high anxiety or all the way to severe with panic attacks. So what we do is over 3 or 4 weeks, typically about 4 weeks on average, is when I can get them to a phobia-free state. So that
Mm,
means they don't have it in their amygdala has released the phobia, and then we start prepping them for their first few presentations, and I work with them and they come back immediately saying, "Oh my God, I slept like a baby the night before."
hmm.
And they walked into the room and they had excitement adrenaline, but it's not the panic adrenaline anymore. It's coming from a good place. It's coming from the logical brain as opposed to this fight or flight response. So it's a much different kind of adrenaline, if you will. So basically they start having these wonderful experiences, and it's amazing all of the emails and all the feedback I get from my clients, because
Mm.
when they meet me they're at a place where they feel broken.
Yeah.
They feel like just they've tried everything. They almost feel like this is a Hail Mary, right? In football we call it Hail Mary. Throw
Yeah.
the ball into the end zone and hope for the best, and if they catch it,
Mm.
we get a touchdown, we win the game. And they feel like they're throwing a Hail Mary, but really what they're getting from me is what I call, I'm not a doctor, but I call a prescription.
Very.
And when they go through this prescription over 4 weeks and we're phobia free, that is when you have this wonderful, amazing turnaround, and they experience the joy of public speaking as
Mm.
opposed to having all this panic surrounding it.
Very interesting. Why do techniques like deep breathing, visualization, or positive affirmations only provide temporary relief?
Yeah. So what happens is when we try to calm ourselves down, we call this in psychology threat learning. Now, I'm not a psychologist, but of course, all my certifications are from psychologists I've worked with to get certified to do this.
Mm.
And it's called threat learning. We don't realize it. So every single time you try to calm yourself down, you're
Mm.
signaling to that fear response part of the brain that there's something dangerous there. And you're trying to calm yourself down from this dangerous threat. So we're actually fortifying the phobia every single time we try to calm ourselves down. So without going too deep, we take a reverse application. We actually go after our fears in a very safe space from your home, where I
Mm.
teach you how to kind of go after your fears, to teach the amygdala that there's nothing there to begin with, that you've been safe all this time. There is no threat. There's no grizzly bear in the room. There's no polar bear. There's no fire.
Yeah.
And when we teach that fear response part of the brain that there actually is no physical danger or threat, it releases it and it calms down. That's what calms it down. So trying to calm down, you're actually sending a signal that you're worried about something, and
Mm.
then it spins up. But by taking a different approach and teaching it at the very root that you are never danger, you've always been safe. Public speaking is not dangerous. That's when we can achieve phobia free, which I call the cure.
Mm. Thank you. Your work draws from CBT, elite performance psychology, and military fear response training.
Yeah.
How do these disciplines intersect?
Through CBT. And what's the second one?
Performance psychology and military
Yes.
fear response training.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes. So what you're saying is, well, okay. So I hear what you're saying. So
Mm.
basically, it's all CBT rooted. Everything I teach is CBT rooted. Now, these methods are so powerful
Mhm.
that it is true that West Point Academy in the United States, and even Navy SEALs and Delta One Force are using these applications,
Mm.
because for them, they have to go into a physically dangerous situation.
Yeah.
So when you're in the military and you're going into a dangerous situation where basically you will be getting shot at, you might be having fight. They have to keep their thinking brain on and not let their amygdala take over. So when the amygdala starts spinning up, what it does, it actually shuts down your logical brain. It actually, so a lot of people call it brain freeze. They're like, when I
Mm,
get up, I just get brain freeze. And that's because when your amygdala takes over, it actually shuts down your thinking brain. Where military, they need to stay on their logical brain, right? They have to stay going forward. They have to be able to think. So these methods are so powerful. We can actually use them and adjust these methods
mm,
so that even in a physical dangerous
mm,
situation, our thinking brain, our logical brain can
mm,
stay on while this is being activated and not let it take over. So,
mm,
but for public speaking, what happens is the amygdala, the fight or flight response takes over. It takes over our thinking brain. And that's why
mm,
people call it brain freeze. That's why
mm.
they're like, I get up on stage and I just blank out. And that's because their fight or flight response is taking over. And
Yeah.
that's a reactive brain versus a thinking brain.
Mm.
I hope that
Yeah.
answers your
It
question.
does. It does. It does. Thank you. Your work claims a 99.2% success rate.
Yeah. Yeah.
What defines success in your methodology?
What defines, so I use two different numbers. When it comes to my one-on-one clients, every my promise is that I work with you until you're phobia free.
Hmm.
So it's basically there's no risk. It's like 100%, right?
Yeah.
And everybody I work with achieves this because if, like I said, phobia actually has a prescription. As long as you show up and you follow this little prescription with some exercises which are psychological and physiological, we can actually overcome the phobia.
Hmm.
The 99.2% comes from, I also have a do-it-yourself course. So for those who can't afford the coaching part, I have a do-it-yourself course. Now, just to let people know out there, do-it-yourself courses on the average have a 15 to 30% refund rate.
Hmm.
That's very, very high when you think about it. And over 4 years, I have maintained over those 4 years a 0.8% refund rate. So
Hmm.
that means people are taking this course and
Yeah.
nobody's asking for a refund. And then, of course, I get a lot of emails and a lot of feedback, and everybody who takes this course are saying they're just having remarkable experiences. Now,
Correct.
not everybody finishes the course. I can't help people who don't finish. It's like people buy a book and they don't finish it. But I base my success rate on what I get the feedback from and also the refund rate, which is incredibly low, almost unheard of when it comes to a refund rate.
Hmm. Fantastic. Have you seen cases where curing speaking fear directly led to promotions or major career breakthroughs?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time. Yeah. It's really amazing because a lot of my clients, they come back when they're having these wonderful experiences, but the most wonderful emails I get might be from a client from a year ago or even
Hmm.
2 years ago who are keeping me up to date with their journey because they always come back and say, Bob, when I came to you, I wanted to quit my job and I got promoted to director, which means I had to public speak. I almost wanted to quit it.
Hmm.
And I say, don't quit your job. Let me work with you for 4 weeks. And next thing you know, they are successful, then become a vice president. Some become senior vice presidents. I even had one guy go from director to VP to COO in a matter of 3 years.
Wow. Wow. Well, clearly, being able to speak in public is a very important, uh, thing that we must all have. But moving on, how can unresolved speaking fear quietly sabotage leadership presence and career progression?
Yeah, yeah. So there's I call it some people are on offense and some people are on defense.
Hmm.
Offense are the people who they have this phobia and it's blocking them from getting upwards in their organization.
Hmm.
So they keep themselves small,
Hmm.
right? They don't want to get that. They don't want to go for that promotion if they see that one of the prerequisites is public speaking.
Hmm.
So it will keep them small in their world.
Hmm.
And then I have the others who've gotten to a place. Maybe they got promotion to VP, right? And now they're suffering with all this anxiety and dread, and they almost want to demote themselves. Some of them literally want to literally take a step down
Hmm.
or quit or resign because they're just living in too much anxiety.
Right.
And others just really just live in a place of anxiety and fear. And after working with me, they release that fear. They're like liberated. It's like
Hmm.
freedom from
Hmm.
all this anxiety and dread. They live in it day to day. And
Hmm.
it's just not a great place to live when you're living with anxiety. So you're getting that wonderful paycheck, you have that nice title, but with it comes all this anxiety. And every single week you have a new presentation, you have a new stage, and they live in fear. So I call that playing defense, where basically these people feel like they're always like one paycheck away of being found out that they have a phobia,
Hmm.
and one bad moment away of having a blank mind on a stage, or having that quivering voice come through, or just having a total outright panic attack in
Hmm.
front of their entire audience. So a lot of them are really terrified of this happening and being what I call found out that they actually all this time were not, in their words, confident as other people think they are.
Hmm. And why do you believe, or why do you think the fear of public speaking could be particularly damaging in boardrooms and leadership roles?
Yeah. The reason that a lot of people really are coming to me is because when they are in that high pressure situation, so you're in a room with your leadership and you're there to impress them. This might be your make or break moment.
Hmm.
And then when you get in there, you're so anxious and we have so much anxiety, your heart's pounding, and you get that quivering voice and they can hear it. They can hear your nervousness. They hear that voice. And when they see that you're not confident, and you aren't confident, and if even furthermore, now you realize, oh my God, they can hear my voice quivering. Now inside your head, you're like, oh my God, they can hear it. They can hear me nervous. And then you
Hmm.
go into a full panic and you can get brain freeze. So a
Hmm.
lot of people come to me after they had a really, really bad experience. They're like, I've had this, but now I went to a boardroom setting. I
Hmm.
had a total blank out. I I was quivering voice, I was sweating, and it was so humiliating. And now they're fearful and that their job is in jeopardy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amazing. Robert, I have time for two more questions for you. If someone
Absolutely.
has tried everything and still struggles, what does that tell you about the nature of their fear?
I call that severe phobia.
Hmm.
So when they've tried everything out there, again, it's they're not broken. If I can say anything to your audience is to understand this, no matter how severe you are when it comes to public speaking, even all the way up to panic attacks, you're not broken. The methods that we have been taught to overcome it are broken. They don't work for phobia. And look, public speaking coaches out there, they mean well. Their job is to try to help you speak well. But if they are not certified in the psychology of phobia, all they can do is help you manage symptoms. They can't get to the root cause. And that's where I step in. I think public speaking coaches have their place. I think they're wonderful people. I think they're great once you're over to phobia. So it's just that basically people are rushing to public speaking coaches as the answer for phobia because they don't realize they have a phobia. And
Mm.
that's the one of the biggest issues for me getting my word out is that you don't have a fear, you have a phobia. And once we can make that transition
Mm.
and I say I can help you over a phobia, that is the magical answer that I'm trying to get my name out there and just trying to get this out there. Not even just me, any psychologist can help people overcome a phobia.
Mm. And my last question for you, what would you say to a senior professional who has silently avoided opportunities for years due to this fear of public speaking?
It's never too late.
Mm.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
The average person I work with, I'm 56 years old, and the average person I work with is in their 50s, late 40s to 50s. They come to me and they feel like it's too late for me.
Mm.
That's what they say. I feel like it's too late for me. I've been dealing with this all my life but I really want to get over it. And I always say when it comes to this specific phobia, it's not a matter of how long you've had it or how severe you are. If you have panic attacks or panic disorder, you've been taking medications, there is actually a simple path we need to follow. And that's why I call it a prescription to
Mm.
overcome a phobia. And believe it or not, just taking minutes a day from the privacy of your home in 4 to 5 weeks, you can literally eliminate this
Mm.
phobia altogether. I call it 100%, but I stick to my 99.2% because we can't say there are no 100% out there, right? We
Yeah.
can't say that. But I can come as close to that claim as possible to
Mm.
saying it because there actually is a cure for phobia if you follow the protocol to overcome the phobia. I make it sound simple. There is work involved, but it only takes several weeks in just minutes a day to undo it.
Fascinating. And on that note, Robert, I would just want to say what a fascinating conversation this one has been with you. It's often been said that one of the most traumatic experiences human beings go through is to get onto a stage or speak in public. And you are helping so many people dissolve that one panic that we all go through. Talking about stage fright, talking about brain freeze, public speaking at the highest levels. And yet you have people who can just ramble on, amble onto a little stage and start speaking in front of 1,000 people, and people wonder how do you manage to do it so easily. You gave us some very fascinating pointers today. I'll encourage all
Thank
our
you.
viewers and listeners to go and check out Robert Summa's website, and also see if you need any help, reach out to him. Thank you, Robert, for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Ash, it's been a wonderful experience talking to you. Have a great day. And thank you for inviting me to be as part of your podcast and video cast. I'm really excited to be here. And again, thank you so much for inviting me. I want to get the word out to everybody out there that you're not broken. You can overcome this. And Ash, I think you're paving the path for people to understand this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.